What's up, everybody? It's Dell. I'm sorry I'm a couple of minutes late. Had some technical difficulties, but welcome to another episode of Movie Swap. This is the series where I talk to another movie lover about a movie that they've never seen before, and they've given me a movie that I've never seen before. And we're gonna have a great conversation. My guest tonight, she is fairly not new, but she's back on the YouTube scene, and she has recently surpassed 100 subscribers here, and I know she's been doing some good things in other places because she's started a vodcast. And I'm an old man, so I got to do stuff like that. And she has a wonderful channel on YouTube, though. Go ahead and check her out, and I'm sure you'll love her personality tonight. I am talking about Kiara of Sup Media Reviews. What's up, Kiara?
Hello. Hey, everybody. What's up, home slices? I'm really happy to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me, Dale.
Absolutely. Uh, I've been watching your channel, and it's a very fun channel, and I'll get into some specifics in a couple minutes. First thing I wanted to let you know is just for in case somebody in my family is actually watching. My daughter's name is also Kiara.
Oh, nice. Yes. Very popular name, particularly in like the 90s and
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
beyond.
She we spell hers with an E, but she kind of hates it. Not like hates it, but she kind of hates it because it's so popular.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't mind.
you're like, I should have named me something more unique. Well, that's what
No.
we came up with at the time. Um, but back to your channel. One of the things that you do on your channel is most of your episodes, most of your videos, you start with blessing the audience with a little bit of song. Unlike myself, you can actually carry a note. I cannot. Now, I'm gonna ask you to just go ahead and just give us a couple bars of a song. We've already talked about the song, but go for it.
Yeah, so in honor of the fact that we're reviewing a movie called Frozen, here we go. Let it go, let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. Let it go, let it go. Y'all, that song is so big. And I'm not a huge fan of Frozen. I actually, was an adult when it came out. So that's the song that I picked. It's a good song. But
Song. I like the movie. I don't love the movie, but I like the movie. I think I might like Frozen 2 better. I don't know if you've seen that one.
no, I haven't.
Um,
I haven't.
let's check out. I don't know if you have little ones to watch it with,
That's
but
true. No, I
that
don't.
always
I
makes
don't.
that always makes it better. So you know,
Okay.
that's what mine. Now I'm at the stage where mine are older, and I get more enjoyment out of animated movies. Mine are actually adults, so they see me watching animated
Oh.
movies and they kind of roll their eyes, but that's okay. Um, So you've been doing, every month you've been kind of having a theme on the movies that you talking about. And one of my favorite episodes of yours, you were going through 80s comedies. And, again, here's my old man showing. My favorite episode was when you were talking to your dad.
Oh, really? Yes, about
Yes, Ferris Bueller.
Ferris Bueller. Okay.
Yeah, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I should say, for my technical friends out there. How had you had your dad on before? Because I didn't get to go all the way back.
Yes, my dad is probably the second most featured guest on my podcast.
Okay.
First is my sister Arabia. She's been on like 12 times.
I
But I would
saw the
say
last one she was on. Yes.
yes. But my dad has been on maybe 6 episodes, six
Okay.
or seven. So he's definitely a returning guest.
Okay.
And I love doing movies with him because a lot of my love for movies comes from watching them with him. He's always been into showing us these old movies that he really enjoyed. So a lot of my nostalgia for old movies comes from him. So I always love when he joins me.
Very cool. Um, I'm gonna get back to the nostalgia part in a minute, but if I say to you, this is my personal thing, Ferris Bueller, and I heard your whole discussion. I just want to see what your reaction is to my next sentence. Ferris is the villain.
I agree. Villain is feels heavier.
Hmm.
Like I would say if there is like a step below villain, like maybe he's there. I don't know that he's full on villain. I just don't think he's a good person.
Not a good person. I'm totally in agreement. And that was Cameron's coming of age story, not Chris.
Yes, agreed. And I really enjoyed Cameron. Cameron was a delight.
Yeah, yeah. No, I did say I was going to come back to the nostalgia piece. So your channel mainly focuses on older movies. I think you said 30 years or more, or at least from the 90s or
20
earlier.
years or more.
20 years or more. Okay, I apologize.
Yes.
So why that as the focus?
It was a couple of reasons. I wanted to make my podcast distinct a little bit because as I'm learning and growing, understanding more about the world and about racism, homophobia, patriarchy, all of the stuff that like used to be okay is like not okay anymore. And so one of the things that I wanted to examine is like if we have these old movies, do they still hold up? Like not just do the graphics still hold up or does the storyline still hold up, but are there jokes that are offensive and won't hold up in modern society? I think it's a very interesting conversation to review older movies through a modern lens. And also one of the best things that someone has ever told me about my personality is that I have a nostalgic personality and that I just kind of love thinking about old memories or revisiting old music or things along those lines. And I just have a real love for things from the past to a certain extent. As a
Yeah,
black person in America, there's only so
yeah.
far back.
That's what he's painful, right?
Right, right, right. But yeah, those are the kind of main reasons why I decided to skew a little older on some of the reviews.
So I'm guessing a time or two you've heard the phrase "you have an old soul."
Oh, I could say yes, yes.
That's fair. Another one of my favorite episodes of yours, when you did top five black movies,
Oh
and
yeah.
you did it in a unique way because I've been a part of shows and I've had a couple on my channel where you get a bunch of creators together and each person kind of goes around robin. We do number five until everybody gets to number one.
Uh oh. There we go.
You did it a little bit differently.
I
You
did.
actually incorporated a game called Kahoot, and I did it on my channel once. The interesting or the problem with it was during a live stream. So once it that game code went out, all of a sudden I had people who were not watching my channel just trying to all get into the game to see what it was about. And so
Yeah.
it
Okay.
almost crashed. It took a while, I guess, for enough people to get bored and get out. So my the creators that were, or my audience rather, were the ones left over, and that was great. But what gave you the idea to go with that?
It's so interesting because there's a Discord that has some movie content creators in it, and I sent kind of like a message blast to the black creators, a number of them. There's probably like eight, somewhere between 8 and 10, and I was like, "Hey guys, on this day, I'm doing a you know, top five black movies. Let me know if you want to join." And I got way more people who were interested than I was planning for. So the original plan was to do a round robin because generally for my top five series, I have maybe two or three guests join me. And so it's easier to just have a discussion about, here's the movie I like and why, and to go back and forth. But with like seven people, we're gonna be there all day. So I was like, you know what? I had kind of talked through the logistics with like an AI bot, just because I'm like, I need ideas on how to make this a more efficient and kind of fun way of doing it. And then, the result was let's do a game show. And so I got everyone to send me their list and we had a great time. It was really fun. And we got to see, how well do we know each other in our movie taste. And it's one of my favorite videos that I've ever made.
It was a great video. Several of those people on there have actually been guests on this show, so I was
Yes, I've
excited to
seen.
see them. Um, I'll always rooting for Terrence because we're the old guys, and you know. Cece is another one of my favorites, and she was also on. She was a guest on this show, and she came back and did a game on my channel. And it was kind of the same thing. She didn't do that great, but she had a great time. So shout out to Cece if you're watching. Um, she's fantastic, and I did watch the one you did with her with women led movies, and that was also actually I just finished while I was kind of watching that one on the way home from work. So that was a great episode. And then the top five sports one, I was kind of shaking my head a bit. I was like, you guys need to watch more sports movies. But that's a aside.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I appreciate all of the watch time. Yeah, I have a great time with my channel, and I'm still a very small creator, but I really am appreciative and grateful to everyone who watches and subscribes. So, appreciate the opportunity to be here today because I feel like I already gained like a handful of subscribers just from being here. So,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
That's cool. Glad to hear that. And I'm sure as they watch and hear you and get to know you just a tiny bit better, you might get a few more. We do have some people here, so let's see who's actually hanging out with us right now. This was my guy Steve. He was first in. He says, "Hey y'all,"
Hi.
and then I'm gonna skip past all my technical stuff, apologizing. And if I can, let's see what we got. All right, someone you know.
Yes. Hi,
Miss
Arabia.
Arabia, we just were talking about. She says, "Hey everyone, hey ma'am," and I don't mean ma'am like to call you old. It's just the way. And right now, those are the two that are hanging out with us. I see a few more people that are actually watching. So all my people who are kind of lurking, just what's up to you guys? And well, let's get into the reason why we're here. First up, I'm gonna have you introduce the people to the movie that you had me watch, and I'll let you take it from here.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so the movie that I had Dell watch for the first time is called Frozen, but no, it is not the Disney Frozen. It came out in 2010, and this story I would describe as a maybe thriller, suspense, slightly horror in that particular genre, where we have three college students who are skiing, and through a series of unfortunate events, they find themselves stuck in the air on the ski lift. And everyone else who is operating the ski park goes home. There's a storm coming in, and they have to figure out how to get out of there because the ski resort doesn't open for like another week. So, these college age students are trapped on a ski lift. They are really high off the ground. How high do you think they were, Dale?
Oh, I want to say they're at least 30 feet up, at
I
least,
think
maybe
so.
even higher.
Yes. Yeah. They're about 30 feet up or so on a ski lift, and it feels like an impossible situation. So I only watched this movie one time before, about 15 years ago, closer to the time that it had come out, but it's been stuck in my head rent free since then.
So movies do that to us. So I
Yes.
appreciate that. Now
Yeah.
you use an interesting term. You said a series of unfortunate events. Was it a series of unfortunate events or a series of bad decisions?
I think a combination.
Okay. How
I
so?
think so of course I'm sure that nobody else on this stream has actually seen the movie. I feel like it's very niche. But at the that's true. At the beginning of the story, they actually bribe their way onto the ski lift.
Mhm.
And I was unaware that you actually had to buy tickets to get
I
on the
wasn't
ski lift.
either. That's a great point.
Okay.
I was not aware of that at all.
Right. And so they're supposed to buy tickets from the ski park, but they're, broke college students. So they get the girl to use her feminine wiles to bribe the ski lift operator. And that comes back to bite them in the butt later.
Yeah.
Because there's some handoffs that happen between lift operators that end up resulting in them being stuck on the ski lift instead of making it to the top of the hill and being able to ski down. So there's some stuff there. But I think there's some things that aren't necessarily their fault. Like they
Mhm.
had no idea that there was going to be a handoff. They had no idea that there were three skiers that they someone would assume that they were the three skiers that the operator was going to tell them about. Yeah. And it was a bad decision to get back on the ski lift as they were shutting down. So, yeah, some
Yeah,
bad decisions.
I think it is important to include that this is not like the first trip on the ski lift that they take during the
Yes.
course of the movie. So the first time they go there, and this is all happening in broad daylight, and the slopes are full and that kind of thing, and they're just trying to hustle their way onto it, not pay full price for these tickets, which is I don't know how much of these tickets because they wind up giving the guy $100 and like and he's like and they're still like yeah well at least we didn't pay like all these other suckers. It's like oh my
Full
god.
price. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like you. I thought that was like included in the deal. You go to
I
this,
agree.
you get lifted across. But anyway, apparently not. Um, and everything goes pretty much without a hitch as far as that goes. I mean, they have their little hiccups with each other, um,
Hmm.
but that goes without a hitch. So even though things are, it's later at night and there's not many people, they want to get one more run in on the slopes. So they're at least confident that the same guy who they used earlier will be able to get them there and get them back. So 100% a they're not 100% at fault. Um, my thing was though, it's hey guys, he's told you that there is bad weather coming and they're evacuating the slopes. And so if we're evacuating, why do we need to get one more running? Go back to the lodge, have a beer. It's another time. Um,
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was at that moment in the movie. Um, how are you when they go back for the second time when they just start going back?
Around the time that it's dark and that because they know something's off because they're shutting down early.
Hmm.
So the park is typically open a little bit longer. We saw that they had lights and everything. So people do ski at night. But then they're like, they go back to the chairlift and they're like, hey, what's happening? Why are y'all closing down so early? And he's like, oh, storm's coming in. Everyone's getting out of here. And there's this pressure that they feel to go back on the slopes because Parker, the only girl character, who is the girlfriend of Dan,
Hmm.
who's kind of the central character. And then Dan has a best friend named Joe. And there's a lot of tension between them because it's like, who's the third wheel? And Parker, because she's new to skiing or snowboarding, they've been on bunny slopes all day. And so Joe is like, you brought the bunny slope girl. We need to make sure we get in some real skiing on a more difficult slope. So the tension that's between these three characters, I think, is what kind of propels them to make more awful decisions. I do also want to say that Parker did offer to let them do a more difficult slope by
She did.
themselves.
She absolutely did.
And if they had gotten stuck while she was back at the ski slope place, she could have at least advocated for them to be rescued. But Dan wants everybody to be included. He wants his friend to be, his girlfriend's friend. And it's just the tension between them, I think, is the thing that pushes them to make the awful decisions.
Yeah. Joe, he's rusty third wheel energy all day long.
So you think Joe was the third wheel and not Parker?
Yes. Well, no. Well, I would say this from each other's perspective, the other person is the third wheel.
Yes, for sure.
But along those same tokens, along those same lines where you said Parker, was like, "Hey guys, y'all can go out." She was also feeling like a third wheel, so in her mind, she might have. And I take back what I said. I said in each other's perspective, but in her mind, she may have been the third wheel. In Joe's mind, she's definitely the third wheel. And in Dan's mind, like you said, he's trying to be, Mr. All Inclusive. This is my best friend. I'm still trying to hang out with my best friend, but I also
Mhm.
want to hang out with my girlfriend. And we've all been there. It just doesn't work
Yes.
like that all the time, right?
Mhm.
You're with one or you're with the other, and sometimes one falls by the wayside or gets a lot less of your time, whether you're still friends or not. Um, so it's just the way it worked out as far as them goes. But that is what drives them once we are up on the lift. Uh, they're up there, and all of a sudden, everything shuts down. Like you said, there was a handoff. The guy that they actually bribed, he's told he's got to move on, and somebody else takes his place. And this guy, he's like half paying attention to things, and
Mhm. And apparently there was a second ski lift operator at the top,
yes,
which
yes,
also I didn't realize was a thing. But
I
there
didn't
was
either. Yeah,
a did you saw the part where the guy that they had bribed right before they came up to talk to him, he placed a flag in one of the chairs,
he
which I
did.
believe was his marker for this is the final chair. And so old boy that got bribed didn't communicate to the other ski lift operator and didn't remember that there were three additional skiers that had already gone. And so the
Hmm.
big kind of misunderstanding, it was just like, oh no, this is going to be awful.
Sorry about that.
No
Um,
worries.
but that was a definitely a big part of the film, is that this other person doesn't know anything about them. So they're up there, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, are we going to try to get out of this now rather than later? And there was a big tug of war going back and forth between the three as far as what they should do next, or if they're going
Mm-hmm.
to make it out of it, or how they're going to make it out of it. And we wound up sleeping through the night, which for me was the big mistake. If you're going to get out of it, that's the time. Now, I wouldn't say the huge mistake. It's an understandable mistake,
Mm-hmm.
but their best chance was that first night because of the shape that they wound up in following that.
Later.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit. Not, we don't have to go too far on a
No, no,
tangent,
no.
but
Go for it.
the snowplow,
Yes, yes, yes. I forgot about the snowplow.
they were not, they weren't doing enough.
No, no,
They were not trying hard enough to get the snowplow attention. I think it
no.
might have been worth it to jump to get the
We're gonna
snowplow
get to
guy's
jumping.
attention.
Yeah, we're gonna get to jumping. But yeah,
I think at that point it might have been a good time to jump because at least you can get
he's there,
to
right? Yeah,
safety.
you
Yes,
know that
but
he's there.
they didn't try hard enough.
No, no, no. They yelled, and then he kind of stopped. They thought they were stopping for that. He was stopping for them, but he had a call to go back. And he's like, "Hey, dude,
Hmm.
just come on back." Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I agree. They could have tried harder. And then the next day, when they finally wake up, we got Parker's. She's got her hand. She's already catching frostbite. She's got her hand frozen to the guardrail, or um, yeah, the guardrail.
Hmm.
And Dan and Joe, they're in rough shape, but not as rough as her, or so it would seem at that point.
You know,
Or did I
I
miss?
think I think what ended up happening to Dan happened before they slept through the night.
Okay,
Be- because the next morning when they wake up, it's just two of them on the ski lift. So I want to say Dan happened the same night.
okay, okay. I think so. I got the order out of order a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit because Dan got so upset. You know, the other thing that's happening is the icebreaker questions, which I think is so funny considering they're in the
Yeah.
snow. But there's the different reactions that each one of them is having to being in this situation. We have Parker who's panicking. We
Hmm.
have Dan who's in denial, who's like, "There's no way they would leave us up here." And
Yeah.
then we have Joe, who's like trying to distract everybody with these weird icebreaker questions. And so
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
a little bit of foreshadowing when there's a question about what's the worst way to die or what they think would be the
Hmm.
most crazy way to die or whatever. But, anyways, they're up there for a few hours.
Hmm.
And Dan sees on Parker's face that she has frostbite. And for whatever reason, that kind of hypes him up of like, there's no way we can stay up here for the next week. We have to go. And that is kind of the impetus for him to make a big move to get them out of the situation.
So his big move is to just jump off and hopefully land and run and get some help. Um,
Yes.
so as he's making this jump, and the point of view of the camera, you're looking right at his legs, right at his feet, and the whole time I'm going, "We're not gonna tuck." And I'm sorry for looking down, but that's what I'm kind of doing. I'm like, "Are we not? We're not gonna tuck and roll. We're not gonna do something like that." And he just right on his feet, and of course his legs shatter pretty much, and so he's laying there, and eventually a wolf comes around. I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, okay. So I see where this is going. They're not going to be around much longer."
When I tell you this was horrifying, like it's already horrifying that they're in the situation in the first place.
Hmm.
Then Dan falling and having these protruding fractures, we can actually see his bones, so
Yes.
that there's literally no way. Because Joe was like, "Hey, can you slide?" He was like, "No, I can't do anything." And his friends are up on the ski lift. They're trying to throw things down so he can make a tourniquet. And then suddenly there's wolves. And it's like, and
Yeah.
what's
Well,
funny, did you recognize Dan, the actor who plays Dan?
um, I I did, but I forgot his name.
His name is Kevin Zegers. He's
Yeah.
actually the kid from the original Airbud movies. So I think it's funny with the wolf situation.
That's interesting. I've never seen any of the Airbud movies, so I wouldn't
Oh,
know it from
really?
that.
Okay. He's
Yeah.
been in some other stuff, but that's the where I know him from when
Okay.
he was
Okay.
a child. Yeah.
The throw down something for the tourniquet. I burst out into laughter because they tried to throw down. I think it was a scarf, and
Uh-huh.
like as soon as he saw if he lets it go this way, and Dan is, I mean, he's right there below you. So instead of just dropping it, you try to throw it somewhere, knowing that both of his legs are in pieces,
Yes.
and it just flies off into the trees. And I did. I couldn't help myself. I just burst into laughter right there. Before we get into more of these wolves, let's see what people are saying out here. We got a few more people that have come in. Uh,
Hi,
Adrian
everyone.
James, he says hello there. Adrian is almost always here for a live stream, and I really appreciate that.
Hi,
Another
Adrian.
person who's here quite a bit, Smirk88 is here, and he says
Hi,
hello. What's
Smirk.
up, Del and Kiara? Next is Corey is here. Corey of Wookiees Movies and Music,
Hi,
and he
Corey.
says hey all, and he's also got a great channel. A lot of the people in my chat have great channels, so go ahead and check them out. Subscribe to them. They have great content, especially these two right here. This is Mika and Kiro. Usually Mika runs this channel, so hey Mika, I'll say. And they are huge horror fans.
Hello. I'll have to go back through the chat and make sure I subscribe to everyone. I haven't heard of a lot of these channels.
Uh, and I will say it throughout the night. Go ahead and for them to subscribe to you. Big Mac 007 is here. First time, I believe, first time I'm seeing you on my channel. So I appreciate you coming out and hope you enjoy the show. My question, I think that's I've gotten just about everybody. Oh, somebody has definitely seen Frozen. So Mika says the scene with him breaking his legs was so hard to watch. So
Yes.
you
And
you
not just
heard me,
because of the
Mika.
fake legs.
Yeah, yeah, they were very fake. I gave him a pass for that.
Yeah,
This is definitely not a high budget, high dollar movie.
exactly.
Right, but just the fact of how it happened, so it wasn't very hard for me to watch. I was like, "Oh, that's kind of what I knew was gonna happen because he didn't touch the leg." Anyway, um, so we'll leave the chat right there. If anybody else has seen Frozen or got any other comments about Frozen, go ahead and throw them out there. Um, let's talk about these wolves. When it's not like instantly a bunch of wolves just attack him. We get one wolf at first, and they
The
manage to
lookout.
scare it away. Right. He's definitely the lookout because he comes back a few minutes later with the whole crew,
Yes.
and it's a problem for Dan. That is for sure. Um, I'll let you talk about it, and then I'll kind of go back into what I wanted to say next about it.
Yeah, I mean, with Dan being injured and down on the ground, and now that we know that wolves are present and nearby, it kind of accelerates the timeline for them to do something. So around the same time, Joe starts to try to use like monkey branch, on the cable to get to a pole to where he can climb down. And as he's in the middle of doing that, this pole is, cutting up his hands and everything. He sees what's happening and he has to go back to the chairlift to protect Parker from watching Dan being eaten by wolves. This to me is horrifying. Like this is like I feel like winter sports are very cost prohibitive, and a lot of people aren't able to afford to do winter sports. So a lot of people, not all, are kind of privileged when they do winter sports. It's hard for me to feel sorry for people who are in those positions sometimes, but I felt so bad. Like it's horrifying to hear someone being eaten alive, let alone your boyfriend and your best friend. And in that moment, Joe was protective of Parker, but it was just like new nightmare fuel.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, this was the best scene in the movie for me. Um,
Really? Okay.
yeah, because it gave us an instant turning point in Joe and Parker's relationship, and you could see finally his humanity shine through. Now Parker's not just the girl my best friend brought along. She's now actually a person to him, and like you said, he's very protective. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, this may be a little bit of not really a spoiler, but um, the way he does it, he physically grabs her face and to not allow her to turn her head and see what is going on down below. And like for me, that was the most powerful moment of the movie and easily the best scene in my opinion. So I really did appreciate that scene. But then they sleep through the night, so I did way jump the gun on that. But yes, now Parker wakes up, her hand is kind of stuck to the rail, and Joe is having issues of his own, and they both have to reckon with the fact that Dan's not there.
Yes.
So, like you said, the timeline is accelerated, even though from the standpoint of being eaten, they're safe. But they don't. The park is not or the ski the slopes. They're not going to open for quite a while. So yes, they've got to come up with something
Yeah.
and have some little chit chat back and forth, and then decide okay that whether or not they're going to try to wait it out, and they realize that that's not really an option.
Yeah.
Um, So Joe is going to make a go of this again at some point. He's going to try. Okay, I'm still going to try to get to the other side,
Before we
to
go
either a
there, can I
pole
can I
or
ask you a
nothing.
question?
Go for it.
So I want to hear your perspective on for me, I feel like the movie is kind of divided up just how my brain works of like here are the scenes and like escape plans and near misses, kind of like the action part of the film of them trying to escape out of this dire situation, but then there's
Uh-huh.
also the human elements of like their relationship dynamics and the icebreaker questions. And there's a scene where Joe was talking about his friendship with Dan and how they became friends. I'm curious if you felt like they focused what how you felt about the focus between those two different things, because I have an opinion that I feel like one way or the other something should have given a little more. Is my question making sense? Like, did they focus too much on the relationship part and not enough action, or the reverse?
I think they were trying to one build sympathy for the two characters up there, but I don't know that it was really necessary because of all that had already happened. Um, and also trying to add more of a build up to the next big scene, and I was okay with that. But I mean, it was padding, but I was okay with that. Um, because I mean, you want to get your 90 minutes in as a movie. I got it, but so you had to figure it out somewhere, and that was not a bad place to do it because if you're up there stuck on that lift, you know, there are conversations that you can be had. Otherwise, you go completely crazy. It's just that what are you going to decide to talk about? Are we going to, talk about only escaping? Even though my best friend and your boyfriend are laying down here the remains of them, so we kind of we might reminisce over that. So I was okay with that. How did you feel about that?
I felt like the movie focused a little more on relationship dynamics than I would have liked.
Okay,
Like, I would have preferred either like go less on the exposition and relationship dynamics, or to like pump up the action and like escape attempts. And I feel like there's a part where Joe is talking about why he's never in a relationship because he got insecure over his girlfriend, and I'm like, who
right,
cares?
right,
Or like when he flirts with the girl and gets her phone number, and she's supposed to be his motivation to get out of
yeah,
the situation, and then I'm also like, who cares?
yeah. I also laughed at that. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I felt like maybe they were trying too hard to endure us to or endear us to a character who was
Mhm.
less likable, because he was very mean-spirited to Parker. Like,
It was.
Parker got some of her jabs in, here and there, but he was Joe was very confrontational and passive aggressive or aggressive with her. And so maybe they were trying to do a little damage control to make us feel
Yeah.
more endeared to him. But I feel like they could have done away with quite a few of those things.
They could have, and again, I'm getting back to the runtime thing, and the obvious comparison for me for this movie is Fall. I don't have you seen Fall?
No.
It came out. I want to say 2025, but it might have been 2024. One of those 2 years it came out, and we have two young ladies who, at the beginning, we have them. They're on this big climb, and we have a boyfriend who, he falls off the side of the mountain and he passes away. So the girlfriend, she's sad about it. And I think it's either 6 months to a year after this happens, we fast forward it and she's decided she's going to climb. There's this big tower standing out in the middle of the desert. Her to do it. And so they climb there and then they realize, things start happening and they can't get down. So they have to figure out a way to get down. So that was the obvious comparison to me. And Fall is a really good movie. And I think what makes the difference is how they pad out the time. So they are doing the same thing. They're trying to endear you to these characters, but there's a little more story between the two girls and the boyfriend, and they handle a lot of it with flashbacks. So you're not
Okay.
just spending
Okay.
all of your time up on this tower. Whereas in this movie, once they're on the lift, that's it. That's where we're
Yeah.
spending our entire journey is right there on that lift. We hear him talk about it, but we don't really see anything that happened before, in the good old days, so to speak.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would have made and we both know this was not a high budget, film. There's
right,
like 8 people in the movie.
yeah, yeah,
In a single location. I think the wolves probably cost the most
yeah,
of everything that they paid for. But I think that they could have finessed the story and exposition a little bit, to help with pacing and like get rid of details that weren't as relevant. So,
Yeah, I think so. That would have helped the film out. Tracy Lewis is here. She says, "Good evening, everyone. Glad to be here. My comment is that I barely remember
oh,
this movie." So, okay, is Tracy Lewis someone you know?
yes, it's my mom.
Oh, hey, mom, how you doing?
Happy belated Mother's Day, mom.
Absolutely. Hope you had a good Mother's Day. And she says, I pray everyone is doing well. I barely remember the Frozen movie, but my son asked to watch this movie for his birthday party years ago. That's an interesting watch for a birthday
That's where
party.
I watched it. So that's that.
Ah,
I remember a lot of people being there and just all of us being freaked out.
what was he turning his birthday party? If you don't
if
mind
it
me
was
asking.
his if it was his birthday party, I was probably 16, which would make my brother, no, I was probably 15, which would have made my brother 10.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure there was some trauma after
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Um, she also said, not sure if it was mentioned, but Joe played in the X-Men movies. Yes, yes, he did.
Yes. Yeah. As the Iceman. See, it's all.
Yeah, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that, who he played. Yeah, that is a full circle moment right
Hmm.
there. Um, so Joe, he's gonna try to make it. He's gonna try to make it either to, I can't remember if it was to a pole or the next lift. I know he winds up in the next lift, but it costs dearly.
Not only does it cost him his hands because the
Yeah,
wire is cutting him up, it also costs Parker a little bit because somehow when he moves, the chairlift that they were on actually starts to malfunction.
hmm,
So her chair is messing up. He tries to make it to the pole, but now he's bleeding, and the wolves smell blood in the water and they are waiting for him to come down.
yeah. At this point, and given your mom's comment, it will fit perfectly with what I'm going to say, which is that at this point, I'm thinking the Wolves, they're on Charles Xavier level mind reading up here right now. They disappear. I mean, as soon as they look down, here comes this wolf, and he's like, "Hey guys, come on down." And and they did that a few times throughout the movie. Whenever something seemed like it might happen, poof, they would appear.
Hmm.
And I have to call out filmmakers a little bit. Of course, the black one had to be the big bad guy, but that's another story.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, her lip starts to break, and he's over here all cut up in another lift. And I'm sure at the ages you were when you first saw them, this was a very very tense moment.
Yes. Yes, for sure. Because first off, we're hoping that he even makes it to get to the pole so that he can climb down. And now we have the wolves there waiting for him, and it's like, how is he going to survive this? Because he's not the lame duck or the sitting duck that Dan was. He still
Right.
has, quite a bit of agility, so he has a chance. But yeah, now we're trying to figure out, is he going to make it? And if he does, how long is it going to take for him to get help?
Yeah. Yeah. Because he's got to outrun the wolves, or at least outsmart them, somehow get around them and get to wherever civilization is at this moment. And I don't know how familiar they are with the area. If he knows like the highways over here, the lodges over there, I don't know what he knows about the geography of his surroundings. So that is a pretty tough moment. Um, so it's kind of hard to say now um, where my mind was next as far as what they should do. I wasn't sure. I'm like, okay, how are you going to get out of this? Were you kind of in that same area, or you were like, okay, then clearly he's going to do this, that, or the third?
Yeah, if I'm thinking about remembering back to before, I think I'm just in this space of being hopeful that he
Hmm.
made it. But those wolves were on his behind. Like those wolves, as he, was sliding down on the snowboard, they were right on him. So, I was as hopeful as I could have been. But Parker, for her, it was just kind of a waiting game, waiting to be rescued in this
Mhm.
lift that's malfunctioning and leaning to the side. And so, yeah, she wakes up the next day and she basically realizes that she's on her own.
Right. Um, we never s- we never see Joe again after that. Is that correct?
We see Joe.
Okay. It's been a couple days. Give me a second.
No worries. No, I watched it last night. It's a little fresh. We see Joe again. More like sloppy
Okay.
Joe. We see Joe.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Yes. That. Okay. Got it. Yes. So, yeah. I. Thank you. So I was kind of right. We never see Joe, actual Joe, like the Joe that we know,
Yes.
but we do see Joe, and uh, eventually Parker's got to make a move,
Yes.
and she, so she gets out of this chair. Well, she actually sleeps a whole nother night,
She does. Yes.
right? And then she doesn't like get out of the chair. The chair kind of helps her get out of the chair.
This is an unfortunate event that actually has a little benefit to it, because the
Yes,
chair ends up kind of breaking and dropping her maybe 10 feet. I don't know, before actually falling all of the way, but it gives her, a shorter distance to the ground.
right.
And I guess she learned from Dan. But what she didn't learn was how to dodge a chair. So,
No, no.
yeah, she ends up falling to the ground and she's okay, but then the chair falls after her and it lands on one of her legs, like kind of in the shin area. So she is out of the chairlift, but she is injured and she has to make her way down the hill to try to be rescued.
The good thing is it is downhill, not uphill.
That's right. Yeah.
That is a very fortunate thing for her. I think, I mean, people who haven't seen it in the audience, we've spoiled it, I know, but they can figure out from here. So I don't necessarily want to go into the final part of it. Um, it from a just from the overall movie standpoint, is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you kind of wanted to bring up?
One thing that I do think was very interesting is how when the movie opened, they filmed like scenes or clips that made the ski lift look sinister, which I thought was funny. Just kind of as much as an inanimate object could look sinister.
Right.
I thought that was funny to me. And besides that, I mentioned before I think they did too much exposition, but I did like the tension in their relationship that helped kind of set the background for how everything else happened in the story. And like you said, it's something that we all can identify with, of being in a situation where you're in a new relationship and you're trying to balance, you know how that works in your friendships. Oh, they also did some foreshadowing when they did the icebreaker question about the worst way to die.
Hmm.
Dan said that basically being eaten alive would be the worst way to go, and he ends up actually being eaten alive,
Yes.
which sucks. Let's see what else. Yeah, I think overall that, like, as far as the action of what happens in the film, I think that's about it. I love talking about stuff like this with people because again, this has been living rent free in my head for like 15 years.
And you got a confirmation your brother was turning 10
Okay. Okay, got it.
at the birthday party. Um, just go through and see a few more comments. A little of him. I'm not quite sure what that
He's
comment
talking
is
about
about.
Joe. When you asked if we saw
Oh,
Joe
oh yeah,
again.
yeah, yes. Okay, yes, yes. And we got some laughs there. We have someone else here in the building.
That's another
Patricia Brown.
sister.
That's little sister. Okay, cool. So we got the whole family here.
Yeah.
or is there more to the family?
Oh, well, I have four sisters and two brothers. Aren't there? So many.
Okay, cool. Now at this part of the show is since it's my first watch, I'm just gonna give my overall thoughts. And if I liked it, didn't like it, or just anything else that I wanted to say about the movie. And so I just right off the bat, I will say I had a hard time getting into uh, the characters
Okay.
because right off the bat it was a lot of whining and bickering, at least to my ears, right? And
I could see
once
that.
we got up, yeah, once we got up on the lift, I was a little more into the movie. And like I said, that one scene that I referenced, or we spoke about where Joe has to come back to Parker and kind of hold her, that kind of brought me back into the movie. So I was like, okay, because before that, I was like, this is just stupid kids doing stupid things and play stupid games, win stupid prizes, kind of thing. Um, but then, like I said, that happens, and now I'm more I'm more into to them, more vested in them, and it's like, okay, let's see where this goes. And then we had the whole thing with the wolves, and it was for me in the end, it was kind of the premise is better than the execution.
Okay.
It was like, okay, I really like the premise, and you brought up part of the execution is like, okay, we're going through all this exposition up here, and then we got all these, trying to get us to like Joe kind of thing. And the entire time I was watching this, I really was thinking about Fall. I was like, oh, okay, Fall did that a lot better, even though
Better. Yeah.
they're trying to do the same thing. It's just that they did it better in that movie. Was it a bad movie? No, I didn't dislike the movie. Um, I'm not sure if it's something I'll necessarily go back to again. It'll be like, if somebody wants to put it on, I'm like, okay, cool, put it on. But it's not something I'm going to be like, hey, I got to watch Frozen again.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
feel I
that's
feel
that's kind of
similarly.
okay. Okay, cool, cool. So yeah, that's kind of where I felt. Interesting to hear that you felt similarly. And let's see if anybody else popped in at this point. We just got a lot of highs back and forth between the family and some other people who are here. I appreciate everybody who is here, and we are going to get on to the next movie. This one, like the last one, pretty wild ride. And the movie I
Yes.
had Miss Kiara watch was this one here, Zola.
I
And
have the hard copy.
yes, yes, as you can see, I got all this junk back here. And so there's lots and lots of movies back there. Um, so Zola is a movie based on a series of tweets uh, and recounting a young lady's weekend, wild weekend. And it pretty much starts with the opening quote of the movie. You want to hear a story? And sorry if I'm offending anybody, but you want to hear a story about how me and this bitch here fell out? And that's pretty much how the tweets started. And then the movie goes from there, and we get Zola. She is the young lady right here, who is Taylor Page. She's an underrated actress. I've seen her in a lot of things, but she's a waitress at this diner type place, and the other young lady is played by Riley Keough. If you may not know it by the name, but she's actually, I think, Elvis's niece or granddaughter, might be granddaughter, but she's related to Elvis somehow. So
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yes, yeah, and she's actually a really good actress too. I've seen her in lots of things, and anyway, she's there with her date. Well, we think it's a regular date. We're not really sure. She's sitting there with this guy, and they're kind of arguing back and forth a little bit because she seems to start flirting with Zola. Talking about how beautiful she is, and then she eventually asks her if she dances, and by dances we mean strips. And Zola's like, yeah, sometime from now on. It's like, cool, we should keep in touch, that kind of thing. And Stephanie, by the way, is her name in the movie. And so they kind of talk back and forth for seems like maybe a couple days tops. And then Stephanie calls up Zola or contacts Zola and is like, hey, me, my boyfriend, and my roommate, we're going on this trip to Florida. We're gonna go do some dance. We're gonna make some money. They make big money doing dancing down in Florida. And after some contemplating, Zola finally says, "Okay, I'll do it." But then right from the jump, things seem off, but she still gets in the car and goes on the trip anyway. Um, and I kind of want to start there. When she gets in that car after first meeting uh the boyfriend and the roommate, how were you what were you thinking of?
Um, I don't know. So there, I feel two ways about it because
Okay.
I am. Oh, wait, first off, do you have the historical reference for the Twitter? Like, were you on Twitter at the time? What
Um,
do?
I was gonna say I was on Twitter, but I did not read the tweets. So when I saw the
Okay,
movie, I knew that it was based on that, but I hadn't read them.
okay. If I am remembering correctly, was it 2015 when the tweets
I
came out?
I want to say that sounds about right.
Um, I was kind of marginally on Twitter, but of course, when something has so much buzz and it's going viral, of course, I'm going to check it out. So I do remember reading the actual feed, but I hadn't even thought about it for years. So it was nice to get to experience this being brought to life of a story that I didn't remember how it turned out. So I'll say that first. But when she is getting in the car, I kind of have two thoughts. The first thought is, as a cautious person, I would never go on a trip with someone who not only did I just meet, but with two strange men. So I thought that it was, for my own personal opinion, like for me, I that could never work. So I think that her antennas weren't really up. And on the other hand, I admire her go with the flow kind of attitude of like just being down with the shenanigans and going on this trip to, she strips as another one of her ways of getting money. And
Hmm.
her intention behind going down there is to go strip in Florida, make a bunch of money, and, come back, and I know that she didn't know what she was getting into. So,
Oh, absolutely not.
yeah.
Now you mentioned her antennas not being up, and I want to say that they were up, but she kind of ignored them. She almost purposely ignored them because I mean, right
I can agree
away,
with that.
yeah, the two men, Derek is the boyfriend, and you know, throughout the course of the movie, we get to see just how almost helpless he is. Um, and the other person, the roommate, is I'm looking. I got to look at the name again because Abagunde Olawale. I hope I said that right. Wait, that's his name. He's played by Coleman Domingo, whose star has been steadily rising
Yes,
over
for
the
sure.
last 5 6 years. Great actor, but in this particular movie, he's not a person that I'm going to be trusting with anything. And as she says, it would be 48 hours before I even knew this dude's name. So
Yes.
yeah, so that's a red flags are going up all over the place, and just to you've confirmed for me why I don't like the movie Barbarian. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's a horror movie from a few years ago.
I know of it.
Yeah, I everybody loves that movie. It's very well respected in the horror community. I hated it from 5 minutes in. In that movie, we got a young black woman. She's in Detroit, and she has rented out an Airbnb. And when she gets there, first off, the neighborhood is dilapidated, but it's really dark, so it may be hard to see some of that. But then she's supposed to be in this Airbnb by herself, and someone else is booked in there, and this is this white guy, and he's kind of shady, and she decides to
Is that
go in and
Justin Long
stay.
or no?
no, no, he's in the movie, but that's it's not him.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
is it Bill? Is it Skarsgård? I want to. It's somebody you know. I think it's Bill Skarsgård. Um, but anyway, like I say, he's really really shady. And she decides, yeah, well, I'll go in there and I'll stick it out tonight or whatever. From that moment, I was like, I'm done. I'm out of this movie. I watched it, but I'm like, I'm out of this movie. Whatever happens after this, that's what you get.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but bringing it back to Zola, that's kind of where I was at first. I was like, whatever happens here, you could have avoided all of this. But she didn't. She
Agreed.
got in the car, and
Wait, can I ask what why do you think she ignored the signs? Do you think it was the prospect of the money, or that she trusted Stephanie? What are your thoughts?
I want to say combinations of both. With money being the larger part of that combination, and I think people trust a little easier these days when you are going talking back and forth with someone a lot, even if you haven't really spent time with that person. It's just kind of the way things are. Um, so I think there was some trust there, and the money was obviously a draw. And I get it. You young, you by yourself, you just working at this diner. Hey, let's make some extra money. Okay, I'll go make some extra money. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I was with that. Um, they start riding along, and everything seems kind of okay. They're just kind of talking back and forth and singing songs and whatever you do on a road trip. And then we get to the first hotel stop at some point, and he kind of tells them, Coleman Domingo character, I'm not going to try to say his name again, but he's like, hey, look, guys, this hotel is kind of crappy. We'll deal with it tonight, and then tomorrow we'll be in the big hotel and the luxury and all that kind of thing. Was that a red flag for you, or was it like, okay, yeah, you know what? Maybe tonight it'll be okay, and then tomorrow some good things will happen.
Definitely red flag. Um, I don't consider myself to be bougie.
Hmm.
However, I have standards. And this rundown Roach Motel, like,
Hmm.
it was just awful. I think the biggest red flag for me though was pulling up to a place like that in a freaking G-Wagon. Like, to me that was the biggest sign of, like, you can't pull up in this six-figure car to this $6 motel. I that to me is what kind of would raise too many flags in an area like that and would put them at risk. And on some level, it kind of does,
Hmm.
at least in
It
this
does.
story. Yeah,
Yeah, it was. I didn't think about the G wagon angle of it, but I mean, you're absolutely right. Because there are people standing around outside when they pull up and kind of looking
exactly.
and looking like, hey, oh, look at there. And the plan from there is, Zola and Stephanie, they're gonna go to the club and strip, and Coleman Domingo, he's gonna drive them over there, and we're gonna leave Derek here all by himself. Of all the bad ideas, we like the worst. And I've only spent a few minutes with him. You've been in this car. Well, apparently everybody else has known Derek for years. What? Why is this a good idea? Why is this the way things have to be? You know, I, I was just
Who
at a
knows?
loss as to why we're gonna do that.
Yeah. One of the other things that bothered me, and there was a few things. Okay, so I am the type of person where, like, if I have a question in the middle of a movie, I literally pause and have to look it up because I saw how long they were in the car and I was like, where are they driving from? They
Yes,
came from Detroit to go down to, was it Tampa?
I think it was Tampa, but it was definitely in Florida, which is Detroit is on the opposite end of the country.
Yes, so when I saw how long they were in the car, I was like, where are they driving from? Alaska? Like, they were in the car for so long. But I think this is where Zola actually starts to pay attention to the red flags. Like
Hmm.
that's where her, like she was actually tuning in to the to the antennas. And so there was a part where Stephanie was saying some very anti-black stuff about a black girl that she had gotten into a disagreement with, and I was like, what is happening here? Like, I think that's where she realized things were crappy. And then we pull up to a little nasty motel, and it's just, the things start piling up. But you have been in the car for 20 hours with these people. You are hundreds of miles away from home. You're committed. And so,
Yeah.
she's stuck.
Hmm. Well, let's go back. What do you think about Stephanie as far as you know? Is she is she anti-black in the kind of white privilege kind of way? Or I know I'm white, and this is kind of how I really feel underneath. Or is she saying it because she actually believes she might be part of the community?
I don't think it's the second one.
Okay.
But I also don't think that she is smart enough to be the first one that you said
Interesting.
either.
Okay.
That she might be somewhere in the middle. That, like,
Okay.
because of her environment, there is some advantageousness to having a black scent, and or wearing weave in her hair, and you know doing things that would be more so, considered black.
Hmm.
And I think on some level, some of that has to do with the fact that because she is involved in sex work, that, like, white people won't accept her. So she has kind of like found a community that's more okay with her and has figured out how to blend in a little bit. That's more so
Okay.
my read on her.
Okay. I didn't think about that angle as the sex work angle and acceptance. I didn't think about that, so I appreciate that. We do have a few comments here. Mika said this is one to definitely check out. And yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on it, Mika. And she also says, big fan of Taylor Page. And like I said, I think she's pretty underrated. And another
I
comment they're going
agree.
to mention one of the best things she's done. Um, I can things. There we go. Actually, it's your sister that mentioned it. I loved her in Welcome to Derry. I think that show was amazing.
I'm not
Have
a
you
I'm
seen? Have
not
you
a
watched?
big horror person. I'm not a big
Right.
horror person. I'm actually quite scary. And things linger with me. So scary movies are like
So
they have to
you
be
might
very specific.
You might want to skip Welcome to Derry, so there are some things that will
Okay.
definitely linger with you. But if you work up the courage, go for it.
Okay.
Steve says, "No way I could have spent 20 hours in a car with Stephanie."
No way. Me either.
No, no, that is not someone I want to be around very much. And honestly, you know, Zola aside, I wouldn't want to spend that much time with any of those other three. So that's
Oh
just
God.
Calvin the collector's here. Thank
Hi,
you, Calvin.
Calvin.
He
That's
says,
my
"Hey,
husband.
oh, hey, hubby. I hope you all had a good day. It was kind of good, but now it's better because now I'm doing what I like to do, which is just talk some movies.
Yes.
And let's see if there's anyone else who is got anything for us there. And I get more confirmation for my barbarian hate. You're right, barbarian was bad. I felt the same. Thank you.
Look, I know what happens in the movie. I haven't watched it myself, but I will give it credit for having a black person survive the story. One of the few horror movies that does it.
Yeah, she did survive the movie. Um, you know, great for her. I just wasn't particularly worried about whether she would in this case, in this particular case. I'm sorry. That's the best thing. That's the best way I can put it. And yeah, it was. I was looking at that because uh, this next comment is correct. Bill Skarsgård plays Pennywise, but yes, he also does play this character that she meets when she first gets to the house. So he is both. And we got some laughs or crying rather about $6 Motel, definitely. And we've got someone else here saying "Hey fam" again. I guess he's saying to Calvin, and someone else. I guess we're talking about "Welcome to Derry." Don't watch it.
Yeah, my sister knows the level of horror that I can take, and I guess Welcome to Derry is not it.
Yeah, there's some things. It's really really great storytelling. But when it decides to actually be horror, it is horror. It's horrific, and there are
Okay.
some scenes. And I'm a big horror fan, and there were some scenes that had me recoiling. So I
Really?
get, I fully understand. Um, so the girls go to this club. They're stripping back into Zola, and before we get to what happens with Derek, I want to say that this is where the film starts to do something that I found very interesting, in kind of an abstract filmmaking kind of way. On the screen, you can see that the director, Janixa Bravo, it is a female director. And I thought one of the great things that she did in this movie was play with the male gaze,
Mm-hmm.
especially with movies that involve strippers. You know what kind of camera shots that you're going to get, right? You know what you're going to
Mm-hmm.
see. The camera's going to be here, and this part of the body is going to be lit up, or it's going to be concentrated. The picture's going to be concentrated on certain areas. And as a man, I appreciate those things, but in this particular movie, I was like, oh, that is really interesting how she did that. And what I mean by that is, I mean, we do get one full body shot of Zola where she's kind of going around the pole for a little bit, but she doesn't really take anything off. Not that we can really see anything. And then other scenes in the movie with both her and Stephanie, the camera is positioned so that there's not really any nudity from them. And for me, playing with the male gaze is like it is putting that camera right there where there's something beneath it, and it's getting your attention, and then she will cut to something. uh I wouldn't necessarily say female perspective, female gaze, not female gaze, but female perspective.
Okay.
And she does it here in the strip club, even when they're kind of in the back and they're going through all these things, and you see all the girls walking around, but nobody's like naked or anything. Even tell
Mm-hmm.
Paige she's got the pasties on. And then later on, once we get to the hotel room, we never really see Stephanie, but we see lots of something else. And I'm gonna come back to what we what we see then. um but I wanted to bring that up. I don't know if you thought about that, or if you felt the same way or differently about that.
It's very interesting because I think I recognize some version of that, but maybe not from the perspective that you talked about. I
Okay.
think from my perspective, what I thought was interesting was like you mentioned more of the behind the scenes stuff. Like
Hmm.
there's a scene where Taylor comes out on stage to dance and she cleans the pole. And
Yes.
I'm like, they didn't have to keep that in there. Like that's something that like breaks from the performative nature of how
Hmm.
we would view stripping in a movie, right? But she goes out and she sprays the pole and she is like performing while she's cleaning the pole and everything. And so there's something about it made it just feel more real. So
Hmm.
I appreciated those types of aspects. I liked seeing T.S. Madison saying that weird prayer in the room.
Yes, that was a wild prayer.
I love the lighting. A lot of blue and red kind of the lighting or the scenes where it was almost like funhouse mirror. That's the vibe that it gave me. And there was another point that I wanted to make, but I just in oh the thing that I really enjoyed about having a female director in this story, not to say that a male director couldn't do the same thing, appreciated what felt more like a neutral take to sex work. In this case, in this particular moment that we're talking about is stripping because it is very taboo and we are can be very judgmental of people who engage in sex work or stripping. And I just felt like the perspective was neutral. These women are doing a job, for money,
Yeah,
and we're not judging them for it or because of it. And that's something that I really appreciated throughout the story. That, like, the way Zola did her tweets about stripping were the same way I would talk about being a waitress. And to her,
yeah,
it's a job, and I really appreciated that.
yeah. Excuse me, I did as well. Because and it's going back to sports movies, for instance. We talked a little bit about sports movies earlier. Um, I often have people, tell me, well, I don't like sports. I don't like, whatever the sport is that I'm talking, whatever that the movie's about. I don't like boxing. I don't like football. I don't like baseball. Whatever the sport is, and I always come back to, well, a good sports movie is not about the sport. It's about the person. And Zola is the same. A good movie that involves strippers is not about stripping, but it's about the person. And I think that was handled very well. And going back to your point about when she came out and she was cleaning the pole while still performing, I thought that particular moment highlighted how good of a storyteller that the director is, because it's mentioned earlier on, a little bit earlier, it's mentioned about how some of the girls were dirty, or if some stripper had, nasty drawers or something like that. And
Uh-huh.
then we get to this point, it doesn't need to be mentioned again. We just see her do. And it, I'm a big fan of showing and not telling. So she doesn't, in a lesser movie, for instance, let's say if it was a Tyler Perry movie, um, she would have come out and be like, "Oh, I got to clean this pole, this nasty pole, all these nasty girls." That would have been the whole dialogue. That would have been the whole thing,
Yes.
and we don't get that here because it's not needed.
Right.
So I really appreciated that. Um, we got to get back to Derek because he's sitting in this hotel room all by himself, hungry and bored. He goes over to the convenience store or drugstore across the street or wherever he goes, and he runs into somebody. I'll let you tell it from your how you saw that whole thing play out.
So the actor who is the dude, this dude was waiting and saw them arrive. So,
Yes.
you know, he has somehow set up shop at this motel. He has like a lawn chair that he's sitting out on with a friend when they pull up to the motel. So they already kind of know what's going on. And we
Hmm.
know that, oh boy, what's his name? Derek is supposed to be kind of keeping guard, watching their stuff. It's not a good
Yeah.
neighborhood, not a good area, but he goes out to grab something to drink. And Dion, who is played by Jason Mitchell, who I think is a great actor. Was he Easy E? Was he the
He
one who
was Easy
played?
E. Yes.
Yes, and he was also in one of my favorite Monarch movies, Skull Island.
I, mhm.
I love that movie. But he is approaching him and kind of like buttering him up a little bit. And he's like, "Oh, I saw you arrive, and you were with the two girls, and kind of figured like, what are y'all doing here?" And Derek is not aware enough to realize that this is actually a dangerous situation. My initial thought was that somebody was robbing their room while Jason distracted Derek,
Yeah.
but it was worse.
I mean, they were basically they're buttering him up when they meet him. I mean,
Yeah.
they're just like finding him for the kill. I guess would be uh, just as good a phrase. Jason Mitchell, by the way, is an excellent actor. I want to mention a film that he did. I want to say in 2018. It was called Tyrell,
I want to see
and
that movie. I saw the trailer and I was like, "Oh, I want to see this movie."
yeah, it's a pretty quietly underseen and brilliant film in my. Now, I know that in the years since Jason Weaver's got into some trouble, which is why we don't see him as much. Um, but that particular film was really good, and he's been good in everything that I've seen him in. We mentioned Easy E; he was great. Um, Yeah,
I
they're
actually
coming.
didn't know he
But
got into some trouble.
apparently, on some sets, he's a little handsy with some of the ladies.
Oh, Jesus.
So,
Okay.
yeah, we suck. We're bad. But
Especially the
yeah,
short ones. I mean,
I would take offense because I'm very short, but he did. Um, but as far as this movie goes, though, yeah, he's kind of playing to Derek's ego and kind of like, hey, well, they're doing this, and she's out there, she's messing around, and he's just kind of putting all kinds of things in his head, and he's really just kind of, trying to get as much information out of him as he can without interrogating him,
yes.
and that works pretty good, and it's we cut back to Stephanie and Zola and Coleman, and you know Zola's offered to go work a private party. She turns that down, and they get back in the car with Coleman's character, and he basically takes him off to a hotel, and it's like, okay, now the rest of the night you're gonna be up here, turning tricks for the rest of the night. And Zola's,
From Backpage.
yeah, from Backpage. And he's like, no, that's not what I'm doing. But he puts her in the room and doesn't let her out of the room with Stephanie. And then we get to the other part of the second half of the part where I was talking about playing with the male gaze, because again, in a movie directed by a male, uh, you would see all of Stephanie, maybe even
Hmm.
constantly. Well, we really don't, but we do get a parade of peckers that just show up on the screen, and these are some of the most interesting looking things in the world.
It's so
I did.
interesting because from the female perspective,
Mhm.
it makes sense. If
Yes, it
you
does.
think about, even if you think about the male gaze when it comes to showing someone's member, it has to be shown in the best light. And but as a person who is engaged in sex work, you get the run of the mill, you
Yeah.
get these regular people. And so I like the realism of showing it from that perspective, which I think is funny and makes it feel more real.
Oh, I 100% understand that because the first time I saw this, I was like, I did not know that there were that many shapes and sizes. I mean, these things were. Woo. Um, we do have a couple of comments. So his is one. The cinematography was well done, and we talked a little bit about that. Yes, agreed that the perspective was very neutral, and I think we both agreed on that. Zola did a great job of setting her boundaries too. Let's talk about that for a minute because, like we said earlier, we were both kind of like, either she ignored or wasn't paying enough attention to her own feelings and all the red flags that were going on. But at the end of the day, she had boundaries and she set them and she stuck to them, as much as you can possibly do in a situation like that. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, and I thought that made her a great character because you can see that she was not willing to bend on certain things.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think it helps show the distinction between Stephanie and Zola's character. I also
mhm,
think it was interesting that I don't know if in the real Twitter story that Stephanie, who wasn't named Stephanie in the Twitter
right.
story, actually had a child. But in this story, she talks about, I'm doing sex work to take care of my daughter. And so that is part of the reason why Zola is there being protective of her, keeping a watchful eye. Because one of the things that I found interesting is when we have these moments where she's actually performing the sex work and Zola is present there. I wonder how much safety that created for her, right? Because we hear
Yeah,
stories all the time about women engaging in sex work and not surviving. And the fact that nothing weird happened, I was expecting like somebody to get a little too handsy or aggressive. I think Zola provided some level of protection for Stephanie in that situation.
Yeah, you have another set of eyes there.
Yeah.
I will have to add that, at least for a while, I'm guessing he disappeared a little bit later, but for a while, Coleman Domingo was kind of standing around outside in the hall too. So that does help as well. But yes, definitely with Zola in the room, it's another set of eyes. Make people a little think twice about doing something too crazy. And Steve says, "Now I want to see what Tyler Perry would do with this story." I don't. I do not. I do not. You know, I just no. I brought him up just as an easy point of reference, because I know what he would do. That's one thing he would do. Um, because it definitely makes sense showing it from that perspective. And we're talking about the parade of penis there that we that we wound up getting. Um, but an interesting thing happens though during this night is after the first guy leaves and Zola finds out how much money that Stephanie is making, she is very unimpressed.
Yes. So
Yes.
unimpressed that she takes things into her own hands and decides to create a new back page that has more appealing photos and a higher price.
A, a lot higher price actually.
Yes.
And guys are still,
Yeah.
coming in and out, constantly. Um, so and then she makes so much money that the next day when Coleman Domingo shows back up, he's pretty much in shock at how much money that she's made. Go ahead.
There were so many moments in the story where I was like, "Girl, what are you doing?" or "Hey, stop talking to that strange man at the convenience store," or those types of moments. But
Hmm.
the moment where she gave him all of that money,
Hmm.
I was like, "Girl, if you don't give him $150 per client
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Because
keep the rest for yourself."
yeah, he wouldn't have
Exactly.
known.
He would have never known. And so there's also the when I was talking about the distinction between Zola and Stephanie, in addition to Zola having being endeared to Stephanie because she's doing this type of work to care for her daughter, we see Zola willing to put up boundaries of like, hey, I won't be participating in any of the shenanigans tonight, but I will help you get more money. But then we have Stephanie who is so brainwashed by Coleman Domingo's character that she almost doesn't have any self preservation.
Oh
Does
yeah,
am I making
almost
sense?
none at all. Yeah, almost
Yes,
none at all.
no level of self preservation, and she feels very connected and reliant on him for her survival. Because even when she asked for a little of the money that she made, which was like $8,000 in this story, he basically won't give her anything. He gives Zola a cut and not Stephanie. And I'm like, what? What is going on? Yeah.
I read that as he understands that A Zola's not going to participate in whatever because she's already set the boundary even after he's put her in that situation, and so he knows that he can't bully her into that, and he also respects her business acumen enough that okay, she did this thing to make me money. She has a brain in her head, so I've got to placate her as much as possible, but I still got to seem like I'm in control. With Stephanie, he doesn't have to do that because he
Yeah.
already knows he's got her, like you said, brainwashed. So I
Yeah.
can tell her whatever I want to. I can look up and say, "Hey, the sky is green and purple," and she'll go, "Oh yeah, it's green and purple." That's the way I read that.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. But and then also the Zola in some way became Stephanie's pimp,
Yeah, oh yeah.
which I think is very interesting. To kind of see the we have Coleman, who's the obvious bad guy. We have
Hmm.
Zola, who's stuck in this weird kind of impossible situation, who also has to play along to kind of make it through. And then we have Stephanie, who is a victim. She is being trafficked, and has been brainwashed, but she also ropes Zola in without telling her the fullness of what's going on. And so, like, everyone in this story, besides Coleman, who is just all around bad,
Right.
each of them has moments where they're like good versus bad, or a victim and a perpetrator in some way.
Do you think that Stephanie understands that she's being trafficked?
No,
Okay, so we're on
I
the
don't
same
know
page.
how old Stephanie is supposed to be, but I'm under the impression that she may have been trafficked from an age where she was able to understand that she was being trafficked.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, we're on the same page there. So she's versed in the ways of trafficking. Um, as you mentioned, she kind of ropes Zola into this, and when Derek, kind of hears about what's been going on over the course of the night, he kind of lets it slide that this is not the first time something like this has happened.
Mm-hmm. Another one.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. So she understands how to pull people in while not fully understanding how much of a victim she is.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was kind of that was very interesting part of the film for me. Um, they've been at this all night now. This whole hotel thing is all night, and Derek, he's been looking for her through the night and called her several times and
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of things. And finally, they show back up to this hotel the next morning, and Coleman finds out about uh, Derek hanging around with the guys up front, and his reaction is panic.
Yes.
He understands, what's been going on. He's like, look, these guys, they're not your friends, and they're ready. They're gonna be hanging out waiting for us. They could have come up here and killed all of us, and he's like hurrying them out the room.
Yeah.
Um,
I
I don't know.
think
What,
his
what you?
instincts were right.
Yeah,
I thought his
absolutely.
instincts were on point. I mean, from the moment
Absolutely.
you pulled up in a G Wagon to, you know, this place, you already like we're kind of on people's radars, but you have this guy who's supposed to be looking out for your stuff, giving out information about what everyone is doing there. And, it definitely raised his antennas. And I think he did the absolute right thing by getting them out of there as soon as possible.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They were gone. I mean, really, really, really quick, and as they should be, like you said, because he understands what was going on, and so they kind of hit the road a little bit again, and we get some more arrangements between or some more clients provided by Coleman or sending her around to various places at this point and drops her off at what looks like a frat house, I'm guessing, or I, I, I want to say it was a frat house, but I could be totally wrong on this. But anyway, she gets in there, and there's kind of one guy at the door, and then when she gets in there, there's all these other guys kind of hanging around. And again, having when I first saw the movie, having not read the tweets, I was expecting some even far worse than what happened. What
Yes.
happened was
Yes.
very bad, but I was expecting even worse. So I was like, "Oh, we're about to get really dark here right now." And it was kind of a setup for one client, and the guys inside were like, "No, no, no, we want all of us to do this all together." And I don't know. Again, I thought it was going to take a even darker turn.
Hmm.
Um, S- Stephanie again with that lack of self preservation, she's kind of like,
Hmm.
Zola's like, hey, no, that's not what the deal was. That's not what's supposed to be happening. And Stephanie's like, no,
Right.
it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And through that scene, did you like jump out of your skin?
The thing that freaked me out the most, I mean, of course, it's a dangerous situation and it's increasingly dangerous because these men came out of a clown car. It was like
Mm,
it went from 1 to 2 to 12.
yes,
Or however many was there. So
it was a
there's
lot of guys.
already
Yeah.
Yes, already a heightened situation. The part that freaked me out the most was they talked all in unison at one point. I don't know if you remember that. There was a part where they were like, we're, there's a specific word that they used that I don't I can't even remember what it was. It was like we're barbarians or we're barbaric or we something along those lines. And they said it all together in unison and I was like, "What is this?" Like is this a gang cuz they all had tattoos and um I that freaked me out the most.
I mean, I heard it, but I just kind of let it go by me. So it's interesting to hear that it freaked you out. And now thinking about if I'm in the room and that something like that happens, and it's like, okay, this is a little weird. I would probably have paid more attention to it. So I get it. I understand that.
It's strange. What's interesting is that you we talk about Stephanie not having any self preservation. And I think that may not be 100% fair
Okay.
because the what I will say, I think that Stephanie performed. Oh, okay. My husband messaged me. He said, we ain't proper. That's what they said.
Yes,
There we go.
That now it's coming back to me. That is, I do remember them saying that, and like I said, I thought it was kind of weird, but I wasn't like totally freaked out. It was just like, okay,
For them to
but
say
yeah,
it in unison was just so
yes,
weird.
I got
Yeah,
you.
but I think that it could be argued that Stephanie's version of self-preservation in that moment was to not ruffle feathers. And for some people, it's not worth it to cause a fuss over them not paying the appropriate price. Let them do what they need to do and we survive the night. And so I think that is a form of self-preservation that happened in this moment, whereas Zola was trying to call, Coleman to try to figure out the pricing and all of that stuff. She realized it wasn't worth the fight. So I think in this instance there was some level of self preservation by not causing a
So
fuss.
do what they want and live to fight
Live to
another day.
fight another day. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that makes some sense. I get that. Uh, we do have Tracy says, "I'm here for the commentary. Never watch Zola. I hope we
I
don't
don't
scare
think
you
mom would
off."
like it. I don't think mom would like
Okay, you would know better than me for sure. And just kind of looking for, I do see someone who just came in, Tiana. Hey, Tiana.
it.
Tiana's been a great supporter of the channel, and she's saying some highs back and forth with some other people. And yes, I did find your husband's comment here, so I hadn't gotten to it yet. But thank you, sir. Yeah, we ain't proper, and I think that's it. Other than some highs, back and forth. So yeah, that is an interesting take on that. And so she does live to fight another day, and it, it's interesting though because at this point, I'm again first time watch my first time watching it. I'm like, okay, so what is this escape plan? How are we gonna get out of
Yeah.
this? And I couldn't really see a way through, and not remaining intact. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
Um, fully intact. Were you thinking about that at all around this time, or was just kind of wait and see what happens?
Because I did not remember how the Twitter thread ended,
Hmm.
but I knew that she survived because she told Liv to tell the story.
Correct. Right. Right.
I was less worried about the ending and knew that she would make it out, but I was like, something bigger has to happen. Like there's something else coming. And so there was like some high anticipation. Cause yeah, I think we skipped over the part where there was some more drama that happened. when Derek put the information on Facebook about Stephanie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I did skip over that. Go ahead and tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about that.
because for me, that kind of raised the intensity. Like the part where they were doing the nighttime visits, including the one that we just talked about, happened later in the day.
Hmm.
But now, after they escaped the Roach Motel, they're at a nice, Tampa hotel, and they're
Hmm.
up high, and it's a lovely place, and Stephanie is having to calm down Derek because he knows that she's been, hooking all night,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he has his own thoughts about that, and and Zola is just trying to escape, and she's down by the pool, and she ends up having a conversation with Coleman, and there's a power struggle between Coleman and Zola, and it's very interesting because Zola kind of doesn't want to have anything to do with it, but Coleman is really focused on maintaining that power.
yes,
And
yes.
he's like, you're going to go with her and accompany her on these, house calls later. And when I say stand up, you're going to stand up. And so now Zola, in her own way, is also being trafficked, but more so as almost a madam
Hmm.
instead of
Yeah,
like a true victim.
right. And I think the difference between the two, Coleman and her, is Coleman is going by street rules. So he's
Uh huh.
feeling a threat, right? He's feeling a threat because if she can make all this money for Stephanie, then maybe eventually Stephanie is like, screw this. I can go with Zola and actually make some money. And so he's got to put, from his perspective, put her in her place.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he does what he does there, and it also helps him that he definitely feels a physical superiority. Like he knows that she's not going
Yes.
to physically harm him, so he's going to intimidate her as much as possible with that. So yeah, that was a definitely an interesting power dynamic that it really started like for me anyway. It started as soon as he showed up back to that hotel and saw and when Stephanie handed him all that money, it's like, oh, I've either got to step my game up or suppress hers. So I've
Yes.
got to, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to do one or the other. Um, we get an interesting twist, and it's not a twist as in like a surprise character or anything like that. But suddenly we change from the Stephanie film to the Zola film rather to the Stephanie film.
Yes, I wasn't expecting that. And I actually had never heard of there being an alternate story from Stephanie.
Right, right. That was that was wild.
It was.
Even in her own story, Stephanie doesn't come off the greatest because none of it
I
makes sense.
agree.
Yeah, none of it makes sense.
Yeah, I was a good Christian lady. And I
Uh-huh.
met, her, and more of the anti-blackness comes out of like, this ghetto lady was patting her weave, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, why don't you come to my church, or whatever. And we go to do missionary work in Tampa, and it's like, a girl, be quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, stop it. Stop it.
Yes. Yeah.
But we
That
do
was
get some
hilarious.
real yeah, we do get some real physical danger eventually.
Yes.
Yeah, because the guys who are hanging around the CD hotel, they find our quartet. They find them, catch up with them, and they grab Miss Zola, and now Coleman and True are trying to rescue her. Um, or rescue both of them actually, because they grabbed both of them. So it's Derek and Coleman. Derek trying to get their women back, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Well, I will say about the self-preservation, old girl got snatched. Stephanie got snatched into the room, and Zola ran.
Mhm. Yeah, she did
And
run.
yeah,
She did
she
run.
she ran and brought the guys back up. But like, again, about the self-preservation, about She got snatched up. I need to get out of here.
Yes, yes, yes. And we get this big standoff between him
Hmm.
and if there's a shining moment for Coleman Domingo's character, I guess this is it.
Hmm.
The way he manages to maneuver out of the situation. So he does a good job at that, even if everything else about him is sketchy.
Hmm.
He does a great job with there, and uh, we eventually. Oh, I didn't even mention we meet another person, uh, part of the crew. That Zola's like, it's going to be 24 hours before I even hear her voice. It was another a rather muscular woman that just kind of showed up all of a sudden.
Yeah, Coleman's fiance, who I
Yes,
have an
yes.
interesting background story about her, but we can talk about that
Okay.
later.
Um,
Yeah.
you want to share it now? You want to wait for a little bit later?
Sure, sure. I'll share it now. So, her name is Sophie Hall, the actress that we are talking about.
Mhm.
She is like Instagram model. I believe she also has an OnlyFans. But she was recently in the news because she is or had sued an NFL player because he broke her leg. I don't know if you heard about this. So
Oh,
she was kind of like dating Tyreek Hill.
you know who Tyreek Hill is? Yeah.
And so he flew her out to his house and he was doing drills in his backyard. And she is a larger woman. She's six
Yes.
one. She has some weight to her, And he was like, "Hey, how about you come do these drills with me?" And she was holding her own. So much so that she kind of like knocked him to the ground. And so, in what Sophie is calling retaliation, he did a drill where he was playing defense. She ends up getting
Uh,
injured. His trainer
wow.
is there and she's injured, but he's telling her, "Oh, you'll just walk it off. It's just sore or whatever." When she flies back home a couple of days later, it's not getting better and she finds out her leg is actually broken. So she sued Tyreek Hill for her injuries and claimed that he did it maliciously to get revenge on her for knocking down a professional, football player. And my understanding is that it actually settled out of court. So they probably won't actually go to court behind it. But when she
Okay.
came on screen, I was like, I know her. But it was so interesting that she had an active news story going on in the
Yeah.
background.
I've never heard that story. Um, yeah, that's wild. And I've heard of professional athletes and other celebrities flying out women, but I never thought they
Mhm.
flew them out for football drills. That's crazy. But not that they flew her out for that, but that was part of the deal. Um,
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, eh, I mean, she does have a role in the movie, which is not a major part
Yeah.
of things. Um, what's more interesting to me is our end. After we get
Yes.
we get through all the drama with that, and they're back at Coleman's house, a very nice house, by the way.
Yes.
And the thing that kind of brings everything to a close is, I want to say, anticlimactic, but at the same time, it's like, um, it it's what kind of snapped everybody out of it, like, oh, now the weekend's over,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I
Like
don't
the
know.
morning after, like the morning after kind of feeling.
Yes, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, Derek does what he does, and it's like everybody's, oh, I guess this whole thing is over now. We gotta kind of go back to it, and it ends, almost where it started. I mean, technically it started before that, but it
Yeah.
ends where it started, with Zola back in the car with them, but heading back in the opposite direction. And had we not known that this movie was based on a set of tweets, if somebody's watching it and doesn't know that, it
It's
feels like,
unsatisfying.
yeah, unsatisfying and very ambiguous to someone who
Okay.
doesn't know. Because if I'm watching this in a normal movie and it ends right there, I'm like, oh, she's still with them. She's still in the car. What could possibly happen next? And now I'm worried for her. And then at the same time, it's like, okay, is there going to be a sequel to this because this is not over? So
Yeah.
I don't know if you got that sense, but that's kind of the sense
It's
that I got.
It's very interesting because the movie definitely tells us that this story is based on a set of tweets. So
Hmm.
even though there are cinematic elements to the tweets and how things are revealed, like, we get this random guy at a hotel who's chatting up Derek, and turns out he's also a sex trafficker who's upset about his territory being, infringed upon, and there's a
Yeah,
standoff. Like, that's cinematic, but according to the tweets, that actually happened. And
yeah,
so the thing about real life is that we don't always get the closure,
true, true, true.
those types of endings. So, the beginning of the movie definitely showed that these were based on a series of tweets that came out in 2015. And I think if you go into it with that in mind, while I could see it feeling kind of cinematically unsatisfying, I think it feels true to life. Of like,
Right.
these situations don't have the type of cinematic stamp or closure at the end of them.
Fair enough. All right, we're gonna get ready to wrap this up. So to finish it, I'm going to ask you, as I did for Frozen, your overall thoughts on Zola.
I thought it was a wild ride. I thought
Yep.
all the actors did a fantastic job. I thought it was crazy. I love to see, and I guess it's a double-edged sword, but I love to see the elements of social media being brought into real life and seeing how a viral series of tweets captured the attention of so many people, so much to the point that we got a movie. I love that the movie was filmed from a more female perspective that didn't judge the ladies for engaging in sex work. I thought the cinematography and everything went really well. I thought it was a very interesting and entertaining way to display a topic that is actually very heavy, such as human trafficking. Like, there are a lot of crazy things that happen. Like, my husband and I, we read through the tweets after we watched the movie, and there were some things that happened in the tweets that never showed up in the movie. Some of them wouldn't have jived with the female perspective. I'm thinking of one moment in particular. But the other part was that there was some closure that we got at the end of the tweets where Jessica, who is Stephanie, actually called Zola from a jail in Las Vegas. And both she and Coleman's character were arrested for sex trafficking in Las Vegas. And Jessica was asking her, "Hey, can you get me out of jail?" And Zola was
That,
like, "Girl, bye."
yeah, the nerve.
But come to find out, Coleman Domingo's character was a sex trafficker of underage girls and was wanted in connection to 6 murders, including
Murders. Wow.
including the murder that happened at that hotel that night.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
because yeah. So he ended up getting life in prison, and I'm like, that would have been like a good kind of satisfying ending to the story. I'm curious as to why they didn't show Zola back at her house, 2 weeks later, answering the phone
right.
call, or, I think that would have been good. But, anyways, they also have like a little bit about mental health because Derek is bipolar. They keep
Hmm.
mentioning it, but it feels unserious. But like
Hmm.
in real life, he was diagnosed. And so it touches on these topics without taking away from the fun or the craziness or the entertaining elements of
Yeah.
the story. I think it was a really enjoyable ride. And overall, I went through a range of emotions. And I think that if I was ever in the mood, I would watch it again.
I've I've watched it now several times, and I definitely agree there. I did have one more person pop in. Johnny's, what's up? Uh, cool kids. That is his call, his patented. entry. This is What's Up, Cool Kids,
Nice.
and another one with a great channel. Um,
Nice.
yeah, we've done it. We've gotten to the end, and I appreciate you stopping by. I'm gonna turn the stage over to you. I'm gonna give you the full screen. Tell people where to find you, what you got coming up, and anything else you want to push.
Yes, yes. Well, first off, thanks again to Dale for inviting me. It was really interesting getting to watch Zola and rewatching Frozen and talking about it. I really appreciate you inviting me here. But yeah, my name's Kiara. I have a YouTube channel called Sub Media Reviews. We primarily have a podcast where we review old movies, TV shows, and music that are at least 20 years old. And we talk about whether or not they hold up today and if they're worth revisiting. So, if you're into nostalgia based reviews and things along those lines, we just finished season 2, so we have almost like 75 or 80 episodes of different, movies from over the years that we've reviewed. I also have a video series called Top 5, where I invite a few guests to join me to talk about our top 5 things around a specific media theme. So, like top 5 holiday movies or top 5 sports movies. So, we have some more top 5 videos coming out throughout our off season since season 2 is over. I'm hoping to do a top 5 TV moms this month and then a top 5 TV dads next month. So I think that'll be really fun for Mother and Father's Day. And I also am planning to release my first ever video essay. I won't give away the topic just yet because I'm still working on it, but we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. And head over to my channel, make sure you check it out and subscribe if you're interested.
Absolutely. And thank you again. As far as my channel goes, I do have another giveaway. I just did the giveaway a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to post another one here soon, hopefully in the next few days. The video's done. You know, I'm slow about editing, guys. But it'll come out soon. Um, my series, Two Old Geeks, with my guy Troy. That episode is coming up, I want to say, week after next. Possibly the week after next, another movie swap. Actually, a mini swap. I had my niece on do a mini swap a couple weeks back, and her
Nice.
brother, my nephew, is planning to be on. So hopefully that'll be at the end of this month or early next month. So just be on the lookout for all of those things. For all of you guys out there, subscribe to Kiara, subscribe to each other if you're not already subscribed to each other, and yeah, enjoy each other's content. Thanks for hanging out with us. And if you've been here before, thanks for hanging out again. Good night, everybody. Bye.